Hello, and welcome to Embracing Disruption, DTCC's three-part video series on tapping the potential of distributed ledgers to improve the post-trade process. Today, we'd like to welcome Mark Wetjen. Mark is a managing director with responsibility for leading the firm's global public policy function. He's been actively engaged in helping to shape DTCC's blockchain strategy. Mark, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
So you've been meeting with regulators. How do you think they view the potential of the blockchain?
Well, I think there's enormous interest and curiosity about the technology. What I'm hearing is there's a lot of interest in understanding how the technology can be used to better mitigate risk. Certainly, I think there's a lot of interest in the technology given the transparency benefits it might provide. So, to the degree it can be used and leveraged by the regulatory community to have a better, more real-time view into what's happening in a particular marketplace, I think that's very appealing. So I think there's a view that there's a good deal of potential here, but by and large, we're still in a period where I think the regulatory community is still trying to understand better how it works and how it might fit within the framework that they're responsible for overseeing.
Do you think the regulators are doing enough to investigate and understand the applicability of blockchain technology to the post-trade process?
Well, I think it's, for now, still pretty early days, but I think there's some very good hard evidence that they're taking this very seriously and being pretty methodical about how they examine and try and understand the technology. We've seen a number of different releases come out of regulatory agencies around the globe. The Financial Conduct Authority in the UK has released a document. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency has released a paper here in the United States.
At the recent DTCC Blockchain Symposium, a senior regulator spoke of a do-no-harm approach. Do you think regulators will allow market forces to lead the way and dictate direction of new technologies on their own?
I think by and large the answer to that question is yes, but I think it's important to remember that regulators have their own responsibilities. They have their own stakeholders, and they're held accountable in the roles that they play. And they're also overseeing and supervising regulatory frameworks that have been developed over many, many years, if not decades. And this is something that we spoke about at the symposium. Those sets of rules reflect very, very important policy decisions that have been made, again, many, many years ago. And so while I think the general posture of the regulatory community is, yes, let's see where the market takes this technology, it's important to remember that generally speaking, I think the marketplace will have to figure out how best to fit it into the existing framework. It's not to say that the framework is going to be absolutely static from now until the end of time. But again, a lot of thought and a lot of history behind the framework that's in place now. And so I think certainly the first order of business for market participants is to understand and have a conversation and have a dialogue with the regulatory community and help them understand how the technology can fit into the framework that's in place today.
Mark, thank you very much for joining us today. We look forward to continuing this conversation with you as we advance this technology in the marketplace.
Thank you, Rob.
I'm Rob Palatnik, Chief Technology Architect at DTCC. We appreciate you watching with us.